What's up, everyone? Season 4, Episode 2 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. And look, we have a ninja who has arisen and come to join us and make this a legendary episode. Introduce yourself, please, bro.
Hey, everyone. My name is BladeYGO. If you know me, you know I haven't been uploading the past year, but for this past year, I was a content creator for Yu-Gi-Oh! I would make Yu-Gi-Oh! Video essays about the history of different Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes. I would make discussions about the game as a whole, discussions about new cards. Honestly, it could vary, but mainly in that Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion video essay area. So yeah, if you want to learn the history of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype, I may have a video on it for you to check out. So,
yes.
there you go.
And Blades video, I feel like everyone must be familiar with Blades videos. Like, yeah, it's generally a really unique style of video that I don't think there's anyone. There's like Mega Capital G is kind of in that space as well, but not really. I'd say it's like you're like the only one that's. It's always awesome when that time when you'd see a Blade video in your feed. It was like, yeah, it's about to be a good one. I want to sit down. It's either like it's gonna help me in my bed as I'm like about to go to sleep, or it's like if I've got a long drive, let me put a few Blade videos on and watch them. Like,
definitely,
they definitely hit really, really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me personally, it was a really positive thing because it kind of reintroduced me to the game, so to speak, when I started to be a little bit more competitive, and there was so much had happened since I put the game down in 2008 or something like that, and just watching those videos, I kind of relived those times, especially like toss format and decks up until that point. And so yeah, it was good. It was a good time. Still is.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I mean, there may always be a return on the table, so you never know.
Yeah, so speaking of which, if you don't want to answer, it's fine. I'll cut it out of the video. But what was kind of the incentive behind kind of like your decide to step back and or is there a plan potentially in the future to come back?
Yeah, so I mean, long story short of it, I started college, and I've been a lot of my attention has been focused on there. So something with like the YouTube channel is it took a lot of it takes a lot of time and effort, and a lot of like outside, like you have to put a lot of attention on it in order to really develop it and everything, and like put care into it. And so with college and when I started in my freshman year and everything, it was very difficult to give it the attention I would need to give it while also focusing on my academics. And so for at least for the past year especially, I kind of put it to the side and just said, listen, I can always come back to this, which I'm like very grateful for, because not everyone's able to like, put something on pause and then come back to it later. But I know it's always an option. But in the interim, I've just been focusing on, academics. And everything.
Of course, it makes sense. Yeah, it's always a bit of a sticky one, like balancing like school and doing anything else. To be honest, yeah, definitely makes sense.
Exactly.
Sorry, Blade. One thing I did want to ask, actually, for those of people who may not be familiar with you, you started actually making YouTube content quite young, right? I believe you were early teens.
I don't know. So I, as like a kid, like even like before I started the Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel, I've always been, I guess kids nowadays do TikToks and everything, but I used to be one of those kids that always wanted to start a YouTube channel. And so, even before like my Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel, I would, like try out Minecraft or whatever when I was like really young. But as I got older, I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I wanted to try out Yu-Gi-Oh! But I don't know what clicked. It's just like, I think it was 2018 is when like I really was like, all right, I'm gonna really try to grow a YouTube channel. And I felt confident that like now I'm older and I'm a little more like I know how to focus myself on this and everything, and actually try to put the research in to grow it and everything. So I think at that time I was like 15 or 16 when I started like really focusing on it. And yeah, I mean, it what people don't know actually is like the first like 3 months or so, it was really slow growth. I got to like 100 subscribers in like 3 months. But I was lucky enough to be able to connect with and network with another content creator known as House of Champs. And so something that isn't as common nowadays is what's known as like guest uploads,
Yeah.
where someone would upload a video on their channel of a different content creator to both promote them, and it's also just free content. So what I did was I did a guest upload for House of Champs, and that's like the point where I started seeing a lot of growth. I got to, I think like it went up on his channel, and then my subscriber count went to like 500 overnight, and then over time I built that up a lot.
Just as a question as well, because starting this at 15, 16, so at that point, I don't know if you were living at home with your parents, but like, what were your parents' reactions when it's like you started in YouTube and it's kind of popping off? Because I guess, is it that age as well when you did the guest upload and it started popping off as well?
Yeah, so around that, yeah, I mean, my parents were actually pretty proud of what I was able to accomplish, because I didn't like involve them that much in any of it. I just would like tell them about how it's going and whatnot. But yeah, no, I mean, they were pretty impressed. I actually, funny enough, I mentioned my YouTube channel on my college essay.
Did you?
Because I mean, it's yeah, because it's I mean, to be fair, like not everyone gets to like a 20K YouTube channel as a high school student. And I'm a business major, so it's like I can use that to yeah.
Definitely.
So.
I think it's definitely must be inspiring for younger members of the community to see someone coming in at such a young age and not only having the growth, but also having that like really articulate content as well. Because one of the things that drew me to your channel initially was it was very well put together content. So yeah, it must be. How does it feel being like almost like as an inspiration to the younger members of the community? Like, have you had any experiences where people have told you that you've inspired them or anything like that?
It's yeah, I mean, it's like something I don't always think about, but like I have people that have like messaged me and say your content has really either inspired me to start a YouTube channel or to start like make similar kinds of content. And it's like, it's kind of like, it doesn't always hit me, but it's pretty surreal that I'm able to have that impact on people. So and even though like I will say I don't always think about the fact I started so young as like it's true though. Like it's definitely something where like age shouldn't necessarily stop people from trying it out,
100%.
And if it doesn't work out, it's it's all good, but it doesn't hurt to try. So
yeah, I do think that goes. Sorry to perhaps. I do think that goes for both sort of sides of the spectrum as well, because you have not only like a lot of great younger creators, but a lot of people who may be perceived to be as a little bit older as well. Definitely come in, maybe if it's just into the game in general, but into the more creative side of things. I really like that point you made that like we shouldn't focus on like the age of creators at all, because at the end of the day we're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the question I was going to ask as well is like, did it have an effect in like the people around you and stuff as well? So it's like being a creator and a successful creator in secondary school, and then also kind of even now, I guess, as you're in college, do you get recognized by people? What was kind of like the opinions? Are there people around who play Yu-Gi-Oh? And it's like, oh, and I guess if I'm not mistaken, have you revealed your face on your channel before?
I have. Yeah.
Okay, so
I
oh, sorry, carry on.
It's my friends would always joke about it during high school.
Yeah.
And then during college, I don't like mentioning my YouTube channel that much, because it's like it's about Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's a little it's not something where like I can share it with everyone, I guess, but
it's niche, right?
Also it's like if it doesn't come up, I don't bring it up, but people will joke around about it. But yeah, I mean, it was funny. I don't get too many unless I was going to an event, and I was uploading at the time, like people would recognize me. But I did get like one interaction with I was going with some friends to a retro arcade place, and someone recognized me in front of my friends, and it was I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm to talk and everything, but my friends were like, "What was that all about?" And then they teased me and everything. So,
Mr. Rockstar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, if you guys have heard it here first from Blade. If you want the bitches, start a Yu-Gi-Oh channel. That's exactly where it's at. Because
it was, yeah.
Because I guess there's a stigma as well. I get what you mean. Because there's almost not stigma, but there's a picture. If you say I play Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a picture people have in their head, and it's not like. Yeah, it's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like you're not like the Rizzler or anything with that stigma.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But it's changing.
I
sorry.
I was gonna ask how did you stumble on your formula for your videos? Because I often find myself watching your videos and then thinking to myself, I need to know more now. I get very immersed in the video. Then I'm like, all right, cool, Salaman, great. Where am I going? Where's my next piece of information? So, how did you stumble upon the formula for how you obviously present your videos and that kind of thing?
So I think it's one of those things that, well, one, it did evolve over time, but I think the core idea of having a character still and everything was I think it was I Hate Everything. I don't know if you guys know about that YouTube channel. It was pretty big in 2015, 2016 time period. I was a big fan of it, and it's since then it's not been a super relevant channel, just they're doing their own thing. But at the time it was interesting to see the bobblehead idea being used. And so I had a character design because one of my friends was an artist, and so he drew the initial design and everything. From there, I just I had it on one of my older channels, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try this out on the Yugioh channel. I'm just it floating around and everything. And so because as well, I felt having the character still was pretty unique compared to how other people presented themselves at the time, where most people would just put a webcam on and film talking points and everything. I felt the character still added a different feeling to the videos. And so instead of just me next to a card to my left or whatever, it would be the character still talking, and then it could have cool effects or whatever with the cards. And so I think that was definitely part of it.
I think one of the things that I like about your channel, Blade, is it seems like from the initial start you weren't afraid to incorporate elements from outside of Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube, such as having the avatar and the video essays, and even your style of editing. And this is something we've touched on in the podcast before, Fabs. It does seem like the Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube space does sometimes take a little bit of a while to catch up to things that might be popping off more in, I guess, sort of the outer reaches of YouTube. But I think your channel in particular was definitely a bit of a trailblazer in that sense. And now you have all these amazing video essay channels around Yu-Gi-Oh as well. So, like Andre said, talk to us a little bit about how you got into video essays. Was it that you wanted to make the content just because you noticed the lack in the market, or was there something else?
So, I think definitely on the point of video essays, it wasn't something that people were doing at the time. Most people, like I said, were doing webcam videos and whatnot, and they'll just do a regular discussion, but not anything too crazy. So the idea of doing a video essay is I can, whether it be talking about whatever topic in the game. Like later on, it would be history of an archetype, or early on, there were a lot more discussions about like general topics, like is Yu-Gi-Oh too fast or whatever. The video essay idea was both, of course, something taken from outside the Yu-Gi-Oh space, but also allows me to go a little further in depth on different topics that maybe webcam videos weren't as able to, because, a lot of the time they would just film themselves. They wouldn't really make too many cuts. It'd just be like one clean webcam shoot, so they'd just be talking and then go from one shot. But for me, what was nice is, especially with like not having to do my face and everything, it was a lot easier to make a lot of cuts in my audio, and make it a lot easier to get like the point across and everything, and like kind of get further in depth on a topic. Whereas someone may talk about something on a surface level, I can really like dive into like, okay, but why is X thing so important? So I would write scripts and everything. Some videos I did do like bullet points depending on the video, just because like, especially I did a lot of card reviews, and for some of the card review videos I just wrote together like a few bullet points, because at that point I was more accustomed to just like going off the cusp. So yeah, but generally speaking, I think the video essay format was helpful. And definitely, again, like very unique at the time, because most people weren't doing it. So
I'd even say now it's still fairly unique. Again, there's not really that many video essay channels, and even when people do video essays, like you say, most people's content, even if they are doing video essays, it's just them talking. Like I do it as well. It's like talking ahead, and then occasionally you might have an animated card or something, but. Yeah, so yeah, I think even now it's still unique. But then, just as a question, then, have you got a favorite video on your channel that you were like, you made it and you were like, this one, yeah, like I really hit the mark?
I mean, like there's some videos where there's like a specific aspect I really liked. I think my like history of archetype series, so like I think the big ones are like the history of Zodiac and history of Necros and Maxi and whatnot. I really like those videos. I think they're both like some of my best performing videos, but also like some of the very high quality videos I have. One of them it wasn't initially called History of Luna Light, but that was like the first kind of video of that series that also had like a lot of effort put into it to get things like every couple frames there would be something, or every like second or two have something moving to really keep up audience retention. And so I was really proud of that video. The only other video that I'm not proud of like the quality of the video, but I'm really proud of the thumbnail and title is why is this Yu-Gi-Oh card like $10 million or something? It's my most viewed video, and at the time when I uploaded it performed really poorly. But I'm like, all right, this is I'm like, okay, this video may have just been a whiff, but over time it's really like
it's taken up.
gone up.
Yeah.
Was that the 10,000 Dragon one?
It's the there was like this lackluster soldier.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. That the video itself, like I did a really terrible job on it, especially because I was trying to push for like I probably was a bit time crunched because I had homework or something, so I was like, all right, I just gotta throw this together. But I was really proud of the thumbnail and title of that video. It is clickbaity, like in like the most like stereotypical YouTube manner. So
well, it did the job, right? Yeah, it's like it's
over 100K views, so I can't complain.
Oh wow.
And I think that's always a funny thing about like YouTube, where it's like, like it's always like the ones you don't expect almost that they just suddenly hit, and it's like why is it this one that has that really just broke it? But yeah, like you said, yeah, I'm looking at now, 123,000 views. That's insane. Like, I think that's more views than I have on my channel. It's a pretty big video. So.
It is. It took some time to get there, but you know, it's. I think it got featured on like a website for a while that referenced it, and it was like a pretty popular website, like rarest.org or something. So it that probably helped a bit, but yeah.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our next section. I'm going to ask some quick fire questions. So, yeah, it's a bunch of questions. It's open to everyone's answer as well, by the way. So, to start off with, just to check, Blade, are you still keeping up with the game? I know you said you're in college and stuff, but are you still, still playing? Lovely. So
I don't play, but I do keep up. Yeah.
Like, you know what's going on. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. So, what are your current thoughts on the state of the game?
I think the Snake Eye. I mean, like Pyro finally got support, but it's a little too strong at that. The Snake Princess card is crazy. The very like Link 3.
Link 3, yeah.
That card.
I think like the Fire King Snake Eye deck's gonna be really crazy.
Definitely.
I think the pure there's like 3 fire decks. I think it's like Rescue Ace. Pure Snake Eye, which I don't like that deck. I think it's pretty glass cannon. And then Fire King Snake Eye seems like where it's at.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
sorry, I thought you were about to say Blade.
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's probably going to be like a very non-diverse format. It'll be like Fire King, and then if you're not playing a fire deck, you have to have a good reason not to play it. So,
would you say, for example, so like we were in a tier, I don't know, I keep calling it like a tier 0 format. I see it as like a tier 0 format. It's just that there's 3 decks instead of 1. But would you say, are you one of those people who prefers those more tier 0 formats versus like, or is it you're one of those people who prefer the format that we were basically just in, where there can be like 16 decks and all of them have fairly good chance of topping?
I'm glad I can talk about this because I was tempted to make a video about it. I think very diverse formats are not there's like pros and cons to both kinds of formats. I think it's part of it's a lot of what people prefer. I think if you're talking from like a competitive standpoint, the problem with diverse formats is you have to build your deck to be a lot more generic. And so in a sense, it's less like interesting because you're not really like building towards specific other decks. So something with like Toss format, I think is a great example of this idea where there were 4 decks. So it was like diverse enough to have an option, but it wasn't so diverse that you just have to build super generically. You could build towards like the other 3 decks in the room, and like do some interesting stuff. So like a good example is like at 2019 Nats, the Sky Striker Mystic Mine deck. At the time, it was actually like pretty interesting what Jesse and Ryan Yu came up with. But
that deck was such a good meta call.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that final where you up your double.
Yeah, and so like that kind of stuff doesn't exist as often as in like a 16 deck format where it's like, okay, I'll just choose whatever deck I think is the best and just build as generically as possible. Like that kind of stuff rarely happens. Usually it'd be like an evolution of a deck, like to make it superior from its current self rather than like based on the other decks. So I think it really just depends on what you're looking at. I don't like tier 0 formats personally. I think it gets pretty dull after a while.
Definitely.
Like Tier Lament, for example. I mean, I love mill decks, but you know, it's like the decks get pretty linear after a while, and so it's just like, okay, it becomes chess at that point, but you're not playing Yugioh to play chess, so
Yeah,
that's kind of like my view on it, I guess.
Yeah, and I really like one good point you made, I think, as well, is that one thing I think that made TOS format so good, because diversity is good, and I agree with the notion that it's like when it's too diverse is a problem as well. But one of the things that made TOS really balanced as well, and I feel a lot of people forget, is that if you remember the side decking in TOS format as well, at this point you had Instant Fusion at 3, you had Pancratops at 3, you had a lot of good choice of side decks, and none of the top decks needed to be drolled or nibbed for you to beat them. Like going second into a Sky Striker board, going second into an Orcus board, going second into a Salad board, you are going to get to put cards on the field, which also made it balanced as well. Whereas one of the problems now is there's always at least one or two top decks that are so crazy that if you don't play Dark Green anymore, you just lose. If you don't play Droll, you just lose, which contributes to those four. That's why it feels like you have to kind of play. That's why people don't like really diverse formats now, because it's like there's like 16 different decks that can FTK you if you're not playing one of those decks. So you have to play it. But then at the same time, it's like, well, I don't want to have to play that. It'd be nice if I could just put like these lower power side deck cards. And we were having a chat with Solomon about this, where it's like, it'll be nice. In Master Duel, he was saying like cards like Droll and stuff aren't as popular in the main deck just because it's a best of one. You can't risk having such a polarizing card in something like that. Whereas if it would be nice if I can just play like 3 Pancratops. Whereas now I don't think I'd ever put Pancratops on my side deck personally. I remember when people were coping on it's like, why would I put there's Thrust, Dark Crinoline more evenly, Kurakara, Droll, Nib, like there's like 12 cards before I get to the 1-for-1 trade that Pancratops does.
Is it you know what? I'm not going to get into this discussion about it.
I was going to say, it's interesting you mentioned that. What like this is a bit of a segue here, but what are your thoughts on Master Duel? So obviously, Master Duel's probably come out in well, whenever it did. I can't figure the date exactly.
22.
Yeah, that was it. I was trying to figure the date then, it just weren't working. But so what are your thoughts on it? Because I know that it's I've seen a few people that have transitioned from like Master Duel into the TCG, and like I think I was at Locals once, and the guy just came with his he had Flame Wingman in his deck.
There you go.
And he said to me, "Oh, I've just come from Master Duel. I'm like playing my favorite deck," and like I think I just like lightning stormed him, and he's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But what are your thoughts on it? Because I feel like it's good for introducing players to the game and getting people involved, but just like what your thoughts on it is, like it's standalone, like as a spectacle, or just as an alternative way to play the game.
I think it's great. I think like the fact Yu-Gi-Oh has a digital simulator is like important nowadays because everyone else has one. And like it's so much easier because Master Duel is free to play technically, so you just like the fact that anyone can try it out without spending like all this money or having to like, because Dueling Book's great, but like only Yu-Gi-Oh players are going to know what Dueling Book is. Whereas someone who goes on Steam and sees Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel or wants to try it, their first thought is going to be like, I want to try out Yu-Gi-Oh, I should try out Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel because it's the official software to try. I think it's like great for both introducing players, like as its own thing. I think it's because I think the lack of side decking makes for a much different experience in the game. I think in games like Yu-Gi-Oh, where side decks do exist, there's going to be a lot of cards that actually do see value because of the side deck. Whereas in something like Master Duel, you're not going to see people's side. What's a good example? Like, I don't know. My first thought is always Silent Graveyard, I think was the name of the card. It was like quick play, discard one, turn off grave effects. That you're not gonna really see something like that be played because you don't know what you're gonna go up against, and it's best of one, so you don't get another opportunity to go against that matchup. So it's kind of like the similar idea of like diverse formats where you want to build to like the most generic build possible, unless it's like the best deck is like very clearly Tearlament or something. But like generally you want a generic deck. So I think it's like good. I think it's different, but not necessarily like worse. I just think it's like its own separate thing.
Yeah. That's fair. I feel the same way, and I think for myself personally, I've kind of shied away from Master Duel just because I like the TCG, and I find the transition between the two a little bit difficult, mainly because of Maxi. Like I find it really frustrating to play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
Maxi's such a polarizing card.
To put on like a new hat and be like, okay, I'm in a Maxi format now. Like.
Yeah, so it feels like a one-way tunnel. Like players who play Master Duel will come to the TCG all excited, but then I go to Master Duel, I'm like, nah, I don't really want to be here. I don't want to get Maxi'd after he's gone full combo. Do you get what I mean? So
yeah, definitely.
It's a tough one.
It's oh, sorry, yeah, Maxi is
it's a nightmare.
It's a very like it literally warps the entire game with its existence. So like that's the other thing, right? It's like I don't personally like Maxi, and I think anyone who says it's necessary, the only like argument I will say is like if you're playing like best of one, it may be better to have Maxi just because it's less likely for your opponent to like FTK you and you just don't see the hand trap in best of one. Whereas like in best of three, you're able to like, let's say you do get FTK turn one. Well, at least I got games 2 and 3 where I can side in more disruption for their combos. So that's like, I guess a pro of Maxi, but I do agree. I don't like Maxi existing personally. It's a little intense, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the Maxi just promotes a completely different style of gameplay, which is something that we see in the OCG, obviously. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
Funnily enough,
like,
I am one of those fans of Maxi, but I have good reasons.
Go on.
Here's my main two things: is I do think special summoning is ridiculously out of control, and I feel like sometimes it just does feel like there should be a punishment for it. The problem is I do understand that it doesn't really punish people. What just happens is it's basically draw. It stops their turn. So, but the other thing as well is that for me, the reason why I don't have a problem with Maxi being OP for people going first as well is because a lot of times in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! It feels like I lose going second anyway. Unless it feels like I have to say in my head, it's like I'm gonna lose going second anyway. So I don't really care if you have Maxi on top of your 16 negate board. Well, it's like I'd rather just go second, and then if I have Maxi, then it's unfair. So, but I do recognize the reason why it shouldn't be in the TCG at the moment. Like I think what would be much better than Maxi, because I recognize it's not a balanced card, is if Konami just balanced decks better. Like that would probably just be a better solution. If Konami,
that's like it's one of those things where I feel like nowadays, like this may be because I've been playing since like for a while and everything, but like if you look at the power creep of Yu-Gi-Oh decks over the course of like even like since TOS format, there's like you have decks like Salamangreat and Sky Striker, which can like Sky Striker could go engage and whatnot, but like generally speaking, there were very fair decks, and then you have more unfair decks like Orchist, and Danger Thunder Dragon, but nowadays there's a part of me that feels like every deck just does broken stuff now. And it's like the game's kind of warped around the idea that okay, well, either your deck just is gonna have enough 12 hand traps and still do like crazy things, or one thing I will say is a lot of the equalizers nowadays are a lot stronger than they used to be. So 2019 Nats, for example, Nibiru wasn't even a card. And then Nibiru got printed, and then Danger Thunder Dragon really had to really struggled into it a lot of
Dark Ruler as well, right?
Dark Ruler came out. Nibiru, Dark Ruler, and Shifter came out in the same promo set. And they all like changed the game entirely, because now it's like, okay, now we have some really strong go second cards, and then like over time we just got a much better going second option. There's a new one I think that got announced for not this next set, but the following one.
The field spell.
No,
it's like a quick play.
And it's special from the deck, right? It's like if they have the same type or something. I'll try and find it. I'll have a look.
That card looks really insane. Insanely good. It it's like you'll probably have to build your deck based on the different, like you may have to play a card or two based on the other decks, but like it seems like a really strong board breaker. And like cards like Triple Tactics, both Thrust and Talents are other good examples of just like really strong go second options now.
Yeah.
And they have the versatility of going first, which is nice. I think like the game's kind of adapted in a way where people are always gonna like their decks are just inherently very strong, but nowadays there's a lot of options to counteract the fact that these decks are so strong. Something like I think another interesting point is how a lot of decks nowadays have to diversify where their interaction comes from. So like for example, because of Dark Ruler's existence, you just can't have your board be only like monster negates on the field. You need like either something in the graveyard or a counter trap or something to disrupt as well, or cards from the hand or whatever. So the diversification of disruption, like a good example is Fire King coming up is going to have like the Princess, which comes back from the graveyard to disrupt. I mean, that deck just seems crazy, but it's not like that deck doesn't necessarily have like a negate or whatever, but it just has a lot of different points of interaction to disrupt what the opponent's doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's quite interesting you say that, and I do think that myself, which is why I find it frustrating with some rogue decks that they're so close to being good, but there's just that one little aspect of them that means that they just can't compete. Like I seen a Vernasil profile on the way to work today, and the guy played 4 spells, and he just said I was just locking my opponent out of the game with Barrier Statue. Like and what's the Naturia one that blocks spells? Is it Bamboo Shoot?
Naturia
Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
The one that you
I think Bamboo Shoot is Bamboo Shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
Gotcha.
if those rogue decks just go unattended, basically, they could literally FTK you. And I was just thinking to myself, like, these decks are powerful, but like, how comes they just can't compete with Fire Kings? It's just that one little echelon. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think like a lot of there's a video by MBT recently that I saw a reaction of, and it's kind of true. Like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, because I don't think a lot of people know this about me, but I was like very competitive for a while. I do have like 2 tops to my name. And so I was on like I don't know if you guys know Luxury Gaming. I was on the team for a bit as well. So like I was pretty into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but which like also helps with like my card analysis ability because I can look at a card and be like, okay, this is like really insane. Like I think that like Link 3 Fire Princess is just obscenely strong.
Ridiculous card.
But so something like I guess we can make a comparison of like the reason why some decks are better than others is because they're just like some cards are just higher quality, I guess is the way to put it. So a good example would be like let's see. I'll take the Naturia example. Or like I don't know. Let's go like Runic versus
Magical
Sky
Muskets.
Striker, I guess. Or Magical Muskets. Yeah, that's a good one. So the problem with a deck like Magical Muskets, one, is you need both. There's like a lot of things that can go wrong. Like it's very easily disruptible per se. You do get like these nice 1-for-1 interactions with like your monsters, and going second you have the Link 1, which is good. But if let's say I just normal summon I think it's like Max or something going first, then I just pass or whatever. Like and I have 4 musket spells in hand. That's definitely not bad, but it's both one very restrictive in what I'm doing. It's not very versatile or like effective. I'm committing my normal summon to I guess like a good example would be like against runic spells where all the cards are very versatile because they either get access to your engine, which your engine is the field spell, which gets a ton of value, It also gets you access to a body, so there's a lot of consistency involved because every like part of your engine is both disruption and consistency. It's very generic in how it can be utilized. So for like the Naturia cards, for example, they work really well with it because you're getting a free level 2 body that you can just gain value with. The trap card gets you searches if you discard it. So that deck is like high quality, but not to the same extent as something like Fire King is, because the fire. So for example, the Fire King cards, you have all the Snake Eye cards to access it for consistency, and then you have different pieces of the engine. For example, the level 8, I think it's Garunix. It's both a body that can enable your engine, but it can also act as a reborn and disruption if it's destroyed. I think it's something like another good example is I love the Drytron deck personally. It's gotten a lot worse over time, but that type of deck, like its engine is very high quality because all your cards are going to be able to special summon themselves and then do something with that special summon. Ben 10, even though you have to tribute a card, Ben 10 can just be looped eternally.
Yeah.
Have a lot of consistency pieces like Diviner or the rank 1 for the archetype. I think like something like Magical Musket, it being a good example where your main play is to just normal summon one of your dudes and then hope it sticks.
And then I hope you have a good spell as well to use.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like all these other decks can do so much more with either different combinations of cards or just whatever the case may be.
I think two big culprits of that as well are Sprite and Cash, where it's like the bodies are just good. Like in Cash, I've summoned a Fenrir. Like I haven't, even if Fenrir doesn't search, it's a better card than like 95% of the cards in the game. It's just cracked. Or it's like
that's the thing. It's one of those things where like this is something that people probably take for granted nowadays, but special summons used to be like
special.
Kind of special, because they wouldn't really do anything other than summon themselves. So if you can get like, I think a perfect example of this is if you look at 2018 Goki, a lot of the special summons were just like, I just need this warrior body on the board to combine with the Goki. And so they play cards like Junk Fort or Instant Fusion just for a level 3 warrior. And so a lot of these cards didn't do anything outside of the special summon. You had cards like Instant Fusion, which could act as Raijin, which could act as a way to help break boards, but generally speaking, they didn't do anything outside of it. Nowadays, you have cards. I think like the first card I really loved that like kind of changed this a bit. Outside of like, there's always been examples of crazy special summons, but like Noctovision Dragon is something I always think back to as like, man, it's just a special summon that draws you a card. Beautiful. But even cards like White Dragon and Black Dragon are good examples of like these cards special summon themselves, but then also get you an additional body and then follow up. Nowadays, it's taken for granted because everything is a special summon that does something else or gets you access to your engine or whatever. Bonfire Search Populace is a perfect example. So.
Bonfire Search Populace equals your whole deck. It's kind of crazy.
Exactly, and it doesn't need your normal summon, so
it's really nuts. And just to bring it back to the card you mentioned before, Blade, I'm going to quickly show it because actually, funnily enough, when this card was announced, we weren't doing the show, but this card is actually broken. So the card is called Metatronius. This is the card. And so expect you target one face-up non-token monster your opponent controls, special summon one monster from your hand, deck, or extra deck that has 2 or more of the same type, attribute, and/or attack. If you do, negate the targeted monster's effect. Then, if those 2 have the same name, you can banish both face down, and your opponent can't activate that targeted monster's effects in response to this card activation. This card's crazy.
This is really good. The fact it says extra deck as well. Like that's
it's the only like con to it is it can get ashed, but like it's a quick play, you can even like use this on your opponent's turn. it doesn't even negate the like effects of the monster you summon.
No,
So
it does
it's-
negate them, but it doesn't lock you out of their effects.
Oh.
And I feel the reason why that's cracked is because of Princess. So it's like the thing that me and my friend were saying straight away is like, it's like engine. It starts your engine sometimes, because sometimes you crack their board and they start with turbulence. Well, oh, lovely.
Yeah.
That's my turbulence now. I'm gonna make it. Yeah, like
It's one of those things, or like even, there's a ton of cards where you don't even need the effects on board. You just need to like link with it or whatever to get value from it. So it's a like it's something where it both helps going second to break the board. It's something like acts similar to something like droplets, but it also gets access to your engine. So it's both a consistency piece going second and like a board breaker. And that's where I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh's done a good job of evolving board breakers, where, you know, instead of being something like, I think Dark Ruler's still going to be great. Like it's just, it does what it needs to do. But I like cards like Thrust, for example, where it helps you either access your board breakers or access your engine going second.
Yeah.
And it has that versatility, but it also it just does multiple roles at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas
I was going to say, I think it promotes like good deck building and knowledge of the game, and you've got cards that are like that. Whereas I feel like Dark Rulers are just a blanket. I'm just going to do this one thing and then I can play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like bam, and it's done. Like you feel you stop on board. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas this is a little bit more intuitive. Do you know what I'm saying? So I do agree. I do agree, definitely.
And that comes out in Legacy of Destruction, by the way, guys. So you're going to be seeing that card soon.
I've seen
Hands up if you think it's a
prices.
secret rare.
Yeah, hopefully it's not $100. But
Oh dear. Yeah.
Time will tell us.
oh man, the most expensive card before recent was like, I think like I've seen a lot of like expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards, of course, but like Phantasme was the last card where it was like $120.
Yeah.
When
Access
it,
as well. I
came
think
out
Access
in
and Phantasme
2019.
are probably the two craziest cards. And Phantasme is worse because you needed free.
Yeah.
It's
Eldritch when
it was
Secret Stars
bad.
came out.
Ooh,
That card was
Eldritch was
dumb
good.
money.
But to be fair, the only reason I never count Eldritch is because it was COVID. It was COVID season.
Fair
It was a
enough.
bit-
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
Secret Slayers was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Block Dragon was like such a toxic card. Oh my gosh.
I still don't understand how that card like survived for so long. Like, that card was absolutely ridiculous.
The fact it was legal in Master Duel for so long is crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Really, really, really surprising. But yes, I am happy that Adamantipator never really saw. I played during during COVID. We did like online locals on DB and whatever, and Adamantipator wasn't fun to play against, man. That's just it just felt like they put their card on board. And no matter what you do, whatever you're going to do next, it's wrong. You've lost. You ash it.
Just invalidate everyone.
You don't ash it, it's wrong. It was mad. Yeah.
I missed that deck.
You miss Adamantipator. Yes.
I've said it before. I say it again.
Actually,
It's the only combo deck I've ever loved.
Dang. I mean, fair enough. It was really strong. I can't deny.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to quickly. I'm going to bring in a little question actually that I had a discussion about this on Reddit a long time ago, and people disagreed with me. But what do we think is the top 3 strongest tier 0 decks of all time? So if we put them all in a ring to play against each other, the top
like cross-band list cut style thing.
Yeah. What do we think are the top 3 strongest tier 0 decks?
Oh, this is easy.
I think one of them, maybe 2 are easy. I think the third one is up for debate, potentially.
Yeah, I think it's Shizu Tier, Zodiac, and Danger Thunder.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting Danger Thunder.
Danger Thunder pre the July ban list, which hit Guard Dragon and not Guard Dragon, the Chaos Babies. Yeah, Danger Thunder before that list.
Was that Clips Wyvern and
with the Dark Matter lock and everything.
Yeah.
Those 3 decks easily, without a shadow of a doubt, I think the 3 strongest decks of all time.
All right, who's gonna go next?
I would say Tillaments, Ishizu Tillaments. I think that's probably the strongest, without a shadow of a doubt. And I would say Dragon Rulers. I don't know why.
I love Dragon Rulers. It's
I
one of
think
my
Dragon
favorite
Rulers.
formats, but
Yeah,
I don't think they can stand up to like decks like Ishizu tier.
well, obviously, if you're comparing them, there's no, you
But
can't,
at the
can't.
time,
Yeah, but at the time, yeah, and then obviously Zodiac as well.
What about you, Blade? What are you thinking?
So I agree. I think the strongest deck of all time is a Shizu tier. That deck is like, if everything was unbanned tomorrow, a Shizu tier would be the best deck.
Yeah.
For sure. And then I think the other two, I think Goki is
Goki,
up
yeah, that's a good one.
That deck was like, especially once you start getting to like, because a lot of the time when I look at like the best deck, I look at their time period. Because if you incorporate like everything from today, I think it skews things a bit differently. But like Goki during its time period, especially with Gumblar legal, I think that deck was just obscene for what it was. You'd rip 4 cards and then have a Tri-Gate Wizard and active deck lock. It was crazy.
Yeah.
This was Master Rule 4 where you couldn't summon. You had to have a Link Arrow for. So and then the third deck is always like a toss-up for me, but I would put Zodiac up there. I think it's also aged really well because now you have stuff like if it was legal today, you play Zeus now, so it would just probably be like the best deck in terms of not being very combo-ish, have a lot of flex spots. It would also have 3 Terratop, 3 Barrage, all of that, so it could play through its. So I think those are probably my 3 top picks.
I want to give an honourable mention to True Draco as well, because I think full power True Draco, people sleep on how insane that deck was.
What's his
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
Yeah.
3 Masterpiece, 3 Diagram, or 3 Card of Demise. The deck was nuts. And in NBC cups, he did, the videos he does where he does a lot of the lack of ban list cups, like True Draco always ends up in the top cut. So I think True Draco is definitely an honourable mention.
I agree.
But what about you, Fabs? What are you thinking?
So what's interesting is, I agree with. For me, it starts off definitely with TR. I think it's usually Shizu. TR was stupid deck. Like that deck is crazy. Yeah.
I think, not to cut you off, but I think in maybe 5 or 6 years time, people will look at Shizu tier format in the same way that people look at Teledad format.
So yes, actually, no, yeah, I agree. I agree because it's a similar thing where it's you're either playing a Shizu TR or you were
playing a deck hard build to counter it.
It was almost like local. There were 2. Every locals became 2 locals. It was all the people who bought a Shizu tier and then everyone else. That's what the locals were like. It was just peak. Yeah, you weren't winning if you weren't playing it. It was crazy. Then after that, I'd actually say Kashtira. I think Kashtira.
Cash is a good shout.
Arise Heart was mad. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah,
what the heck?
That was
banish 17 cards from my deck before I've even played. What are you doing? Kashtira. I don't think I've ever really quit Yu-Gi-Oh apart from that. The tier 0 into Kashtira tier 0. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Leon format, right?
Yeah,
that format was chaos.
It was just what is going on? So Kashtira as well, especially with Diablosis and Arise Heart. That was just one of the most ridiculous things ever. And then third. The thing is, I do think Zodiac is good, and I do think, generically, if you compare it to a lot of decks, 1-card starters and stuff are good. But funnily enough, for me, I'd actually say Lyrilush Tri-Brigade with Samorg and all of that. I think Lyrilush Tri-Brigade was...
I love that deck.
Yeah, when I played that deck, I think it's the only other deck that has really come close to that for me is tier with Lyrilush Tri-Brigade. I genuinely felt... If I go first and I win die roll, you can't beat me. I don't care what you have in your hand. It just felt so unfair. And then it's the board it ended on was crazy. I can play Featherstorm for some weird reason as well. The deck was mad. Simorg, that Link 3 card, that is if I was to rank all of the banned cards, that would be quite up there because that card's crazy. Summoning your end phase, then my end phase, then your end phase, then my end phase. You can't target me either. Yeah, that format was nuts.
That's a fair shout. That's a fair shout.
Yeah, so I think that. Oh, you can't target the stuff it points to either, by the way.
Yeah. It was busted.
So I
It
think
was
that would
busted.
actually be my third. But yeah, it was
That's
interesting.
fair.
I had a lot of people on Reddit basically claim with me that Zodiac was actually better than TR. And it
What?
Yeah, I was really trying to rationalize it. I was like,
Yeah, it's the tier's like the highest quality deck of all time.
Yeah.
Because it made like oppressive boards going first and going second. You had like 6 in-engine hand traps along with all the other hand
And
traps.
when you
play.
when you were getting on to starting your turn, if you were going second, you already had half a board built anyway.
Yeah.
Which is like obscene for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
Unfair.
I want to point out,
Not
Tier has
fair.
an E-Telly, by the way, guys. In case they don't play it, but they have an E-Telly. They just
Yeah.
don't play it because they have so
Yeah.
many other better options. Like the deck is flipping insane. Like,
That's nuts.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a crazy deck, 100%.
Genuinely insane deck. But guys, we're coming.
I will give it
you
to
go, Blade.
Zoo real. Oh,
No, you
sorry.
go,
I was just gonna say one thing people forget about OG Zoo is 3 Rapier, which is one thing. Like nowadays, people forget about it because it's so like it hasn't used 3 Rapier since it got limited. But 3 Rat was pretty crazy because you got like your standard combo, which for 1 card you get the follow up with Trident, and then like it evolved into the Lunalight fusion substitute combos. But you'd also get like a free rank 4 just for 1 card.
Yeah.
Which would like nowadays, let's say Zoo went against Tier, you just make Dweller, and then it's pretty crazy. So I will give it to Zoo on that front.
Like I
Rank,
do,
1 card rank 4.
One card. The efficiency of Zoo is crazy. Like the fact that it could just every card is full combo. Every card is more than full combo. It's quite crazy. And I don't think we've had a deck that really has done that in a very long. Actually, no, yeah, because the closest to that kind of thing is
Closest
like
is
August.
Centurion, right?
Yeah,
Because they've got like 16 1-card starters.
I mean, as in 1 card full combo, but like that doesn't lose to 1 hand trap.
Right, I'm
Do
with you.
get it? Like the closest to that for me
yeah,
is like probably August, but that's not even 1 card full combo. That was like 1.5 card full combo.
Yeah,
and you can like play like light stage and stuff and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we're coming up to the hour mark, so we're gonna have one last question before we wrap up the show, and it is: what are you looking forward to? It could be Yu-Gi-Oh. Maybe if you want, don't do it. No, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh show. It has to be Yu-Gi-Oh. What are you looking forward to in 2024 for Yu-Gi-Oh?
My answer is mine's pretty quick, so I'll cut you off there, Blade. Not to be.
Oh
rude,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think just more events. Just seeing how the meta develops. One of my favourite monsters of all time has had a whole archetype of support. I'm very much looking forward to playing that. I'm not going to go over it again because every single episode of the podcast.
You know how last year I never shut up about Rescues? I feel like this year it's going to be you, Bill. It's going to be you, Bill.
Yeah, I don't think it's not the best deck by any stretch, but I think it's good. Just more events. I want to see more products. Like how Konami's going to push things forward. All the products we've had for 2024 so far revealed look pretty good. So I'm thinking it's going to be a good year. And the growth of everyone's YouTube channels, of course.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. That's my short, sweet, but wholesome answer.
Andre, you want to go next?
I would probably say more events. My aim was to go to more events. Well, one of them was my aim last year, but things happen, life happens, and you have to segue into other things. But definitely more events, just because it gives me a better handle on like the meta game, and just I like playing. I'm a player. I like playing games. I like the competitive nature, and I also like this because it breeds discussion. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the things which draws me to Yu-Gi-Oh. Like it's the discussion around it, and should this be here? Should that be there? Yeah. So definitely more events for me. Definitely.
Lovely. What about you, Blade?
More Lightsworn support. Let's go. No.
Yeah. My God.
In all seriousness, I mean, I'm just hoping for Yu-Gi-Oh to keep growing. Become bigger than it already is, and I hope for the takeover of the King Fab's YouTube channel. And also my friend Garrett. Shout out to Garrett Phi.
Yeah, he's blowing up. He's doing
Yeah.
good.
I didn't realize you knew him.
I do. So I guess quick fun fact. We're in like the same friend group in the like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
SoCal Pasadena area.
Okay.
And so he would message me before he would message me for some advice on some like thumbnails and titles and everything. So I would help him out, and I guess it helped because his views, like, I gave him the advice, and bam, whoa.
It's
Some
crazy
of it,
you say
but, like,
that. It's crazy
yeah.
you say, because looking at his channel, like, it really gave me like Blade vibes in like a good way. So that to hear that you can,
It
insane.
but like I gotta give him like all the credit because at the end of the day he puts a lot of effort into those videos.
100%.
So
Yeah, definitely.
like he'll reach out to people and try to learn more about different cards as well and everything. So
Shout out to Fireman.
yeah, shout outs to Garrett.
Man, he's popping off. Very, very
Yeah,
another
yeah.
lovely channel to watch.
Yeah. We hope to have him on soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Oh,
there
yeah,
you go.
Bro, thank you.
Big up, Blade. Fabs, what about you before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so I would say that for me, looking forward to going to more events and stuff as well. I like going to events. I want to do well in events as well. And I think from a general Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, I'm looking forward to a more healthy game. I think Konami is becoming a little bit more, I'm going to say more mature with how they balance the game. I feel like they had a bit of a mentality before sometimes, and it was like, we're just going to print everything and hope for the best. And then it's like, this deck is going to be OP, we'll make it very obvious. This deck is going to be unplayable. And I feel like it's less of that. Like when I look, I was saying it before, when I look at, what's it called? Phantom Nightmare, there are actually a lot of good legacy support cards there. Like there's not many cards in fact. Like Maze of Millennia, that's another problem. But we'll just say the guy who made that, he's been fired, I'm sure. So it's like, yeah, but like Legacy of Destruction, Phantom Nightmare, like there is good support for a lot of decks, and I really like that. I think it's nice when you can play a deck and it's like, wow, my old deck, maybe it's not the best deck, but it's still good enough that I even have a chance to like compete against some of the top decks. So I'm looking forward to a more balanced game and more strong decks. It'll be nice. But yeah, guys, with that, we're going to close off this amazing episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. Blade, it's been awesome to have you, bro. It'll also be lovely if, obviously, like, do awesome in your college degree and everything, but it'll be awesome to have you back on YouTube. Your content is amazing. So, yeah, fingers crossed we'll see you in a bit, innit? But with that...
Never say never,
Yeah, definitely.
Before we shoot off, Blade, do you have any shout-outs at all?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Shout out to Garrett Fi again. Let's get him to grow. Shout outs to you guys for having me on. And go check out my YouTube channel, I guess, if I decide to make a return soon enough. So there you go.
Lovely.
Okay.
With that, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.